All right. So, why don't we do a roll call? So who do we have present?
Carol Hofsis.
Chaz?
Chaz Sexton Duranian.
Lori?
Laura Schifrin here.
And Lance McNally. And how are you feeling, Lori? Better?
Lori is a little out of it.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
I'm okay. There's, one day at a time. Everything's one day at a time. We're here today. Let's have a good one.
So just get better. I know that, Adria, that you have a hard stop.
I do at 10 o'clock. I've got Frank Etchell on the line as well, my colleague from Weston and Sampson, who helped with the action grant last year.
Okay, so why don't we just do that one first on the agenda, and that way you have no meeting anxiety.
Thank you very much. That sounds great. Beth, do you want to start us off, or should I dive into a couple of points we could cover?
If you don't mind, I'd appreciate if you would. I'm just pretty much supporting everything that you've been collecting, and that would be great.
All right, wonderful. Well, I know we've talked about the action grant with this group before. This is our effort to apply for the MVP action grant, which is a follow-on from the planning work that the town has already completed. So the project is related to a vulnerability assessment, looking at the impact of current and future climate change conditions. So we're looking at two different hazards here, flooding and drought, and snowmelt runoff impacts on the town's public and private water supplies. So this is really an opportunity to have a project that could be a model for the state. They see a lot of different, applications related to certain topic areas like stormwater. They see a lot of projects that are looking at culverts, but they don't see a lot of projects like this. And a big part of the MVP application is regional benefits and transferability. So if we can show that this application has applications in other areas, that's really key. I wanted to check in on a couple of parts of our application where we could really use any input or any materials. And so I might just sort of go down that list. I can say that a couple pieces that the town is working on, and Beth is kindly leading, is part 7 of the application. That is the need for financial assistance. And I know that the town has been working on a lot of different grant applications during this time. So if you have maybe some similar language from other applications that helps capture the need for financial assistance, especially during this time, especially considering the impacts of COVID, maybe there's an opportunity to sort of pull that in and really help make a strong case that the town needs this funding, the town needs this assistance from the state to push forward its climate adaptation priorities. I also wanted to mention attachment D of the application. This is your yearly progress report, and this is how EEA assesses what you've been up to since you finished your planning report. So if there are any activities you've taken that are related to the action items that were identified in that report, could be things like having a walk on local trails to help educate students about natural resources. It could be public education related to any kind of climate hazards or water conservation. It could be a whole host of different activities. It could just be meeting with folks who were involved in the planning process previously and sort of continuing that conversation. So any activities you might be aware of, let's send that over to Beth. I think that might be the best way. Beth, does that sound okay? And you can sort of compile, and we can show, the town has continued to work on these topics and is completing the plan.
So a couple things, Beth. I don't know, but maybe a statement from the selectmen on, how our budget is and, our budgetary conditions, because they could sort of address that our, budget, we're even having challenges balancing. So because of the shortfall of revenue that has occurred due to COVID, we really need financial help here. And then the second thing is, I do know as part of Ronnie's role formerly in the land trust or the conservation trust, that they would have high school students and volunteers go out and walk trails and clean them up.
Okay, thank you. Great.
Yeah, they just had, and I think they did, Lance, in conjunction with the Recreation Department. I think they had a couple of walks very, very recently, like within the last 2 weeks.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. That's right. So those can go in there too, and to
Yep.
attach
Yeah.
the.
And
Absolutely.
then, Adria, if you want to have us send you some pictures of the snow falling right now on April the 16th in terms of climate change.
Lance, this is absolutely my next bullet on the list. I actually was going to make a plug that if there are any photos, especially about recent impacts, maybe photos we didn't have the last time around, things that have happened recently, that can help visualize the need and the urgency of this proposal, that's great. One thing we heard loud and clear from the MVP regional coordinators is that the folks who might be reviewing the application might know nothing about the town, and they might not have a lot of time to review. So the more clearly we can communicate the story behind this application, whether it's through images, whether it's through quotes from folks like you or other residents, whether it's through maybe snippets from newspaper articles, could be a lot of different strategies, but the more we can tell that story and sort of capture their imagination and make them see the need, that's going to be really compelling.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone can help us here, maybe some people that are on social media, but I don't know if you recall, it was a long time ago, but an April storm where essentially Townsend just about became landlocked because of the floods.
Mm-hmm.
I know that, they had to close the Harbor Bridge. 119 was closed because of the flooding by the Nashua River.
Yeah, that was in the paper.
Yeah, Jim Smith would have data on that as well, right?
Okay, that's something that I've, experienced here in terms of, a major flood situation.
And I was at ground zero, so I can probably pull out some pictures too.
And
Is there any? I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, on my way into work this morning, I am a resident of Pepperell. I already saw a sign for residents that outdoor watering ban is in effect, which is huge, considering we've already got it.
And Beth, something like that, a photo of that actually is very beneficial. The other thing I was going to say regarding the flooding issue, because one of the things we were talking about was modifications to the well field. That was part of the grant to prevent flooding and so forth. If there's any photos, maybe through the water department, that shows high water levels, on the ground, hopefully not right up to the well, but, you could see it in the background of, say, with one of the wells. I realize it's kind of sounds like it might have to be staged, in which case don't do it. But if there's something that exists that shows, impending levels, that would be great, because those are the two issues, the climate change impact on the water supply, the drought, and then and I was going to say on the drought, if you didn't have something like that sign, if the water utility is monitoring water levels, and maybe they had some kind of a graph of water levels over the course of last year that shows the levels really dipping down, that specific to one of their wells via their SCADA system, that would be great.
Do you have anything, Dave, that you would be able to pull together on that?
We wouldn't have it. There was the only problem that we had was from beavers, and our capacity. It's not the water level that was bad; it's the people watering every day during the drought that put a strain on the system. So it's more of everyone watering their lawn that put the strain on the system, and not the water levels. The water levels were fine.
Do you have that data
for the
water levels in wells during the daily water level measurements or anything like that?
I'd have to see what we have, but it's it never came in doubt. It's all everyone wanted water all at the same time, and everyone was watering whenever they wanted to, and that program's gonna actually. People are going to be we're going to be very strict this year during certain times of day.
Is there a periodic, like a level check on each one of the town wells? I mean, I know that we had one off.
It didn't go, none of them went down. None of them were at risk.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, do we have like just general data to say, which well is at what capacity or anything like that?
In the summertime, everything was just about 100%.
Yeah. So what we can do is then I think maybe the other way to get to that same point is just in terms of in general, there are enough USGS observation wells in the area.
Yeah.
We can take a look at one of those. They have pretty much continuous records. So if we can find one in the basin that's outside of the well field, that might help. That in conjunction with the signs that you just saw coming out regarding, because I think they're getting ready. If they haven't already, there's a drought. We're obviously continuing last year's drought. So I think that's part of the.
But the better place is the stream flow for the area, which is in Pepperell, that is advertised. Okay. And that would be the best way of analyzing that.
Well, I know the gauge at definitely a gauge in Pepperell at the Nissitissit with the bridge.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the main one that triggers drought in this area.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then,
Sorry, Lance.
I was also going to say is I believe that if we probably look at just historical snowfall records, that the amount of snow that we've gotten over the last, I can tell you at least last 2 or 3 years is far less than what it used to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's some studies that are showing that may on its own not be indicative of impending drought. There's a lot of other things that come into play. I'm kind of in the same school as you are in terms of thinking about that and so forth, but it's not something we could probably put together something that kind of just helps support between the reductions in precipitation, between the impact on stream flow regarding the drought. And I think the other thing is with respect to the flooding, since Dave, I didn't realize because I couldn't see you up at the top. If anybody in your department has any kind of a photo of any flooding in the past in that well field,
well,
that would be great.
The only flooding that we've had was through the beaver dams.
Okay,
and
that's okay.
We already eliminated. Unfortunately, we had to eliminate some beavers and tear the dam down because it was flooding the Main Street well field.
Okay, and you know what? It doesn't matter what you did. If you actually have a photo that shows the level, it's just to kind of, basically our point with respect to looking at that. That would be great.
And we have all the aerials for the last 10 years, and it shows them the last 3 years of flooding.
Okay.
And that's actually on the town website.
Great.
Lance,
Yes.
may I take a step back to the cleanup?
Yes.
I had a thought that perhaps our town-wide cleanup should be mentioned, which is April 18th, and there's flyers out on that. And that's if you need a flyer, I have one. I forget which email I had it. I printed it off and put it on my door. I don't know if Chaz has one either.
Yeah,
but
I do.
It's okay. Yeah, I think if that might be a piece that can go in there.
Huge. Yep. Absolutely. Thank you.
If you're taking pictures of signs, I believe there's a sign on Main Street advertising it.
Yeah, and we have Earth Day that's going to be at several different locations throughout the town, so that we don't have a congregate like at Town Common like we normally do, but each section is going to be, they're addressing the Earth Day as far as that is concerned too, which I know that the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts are very active in that as well.
I have something for you. Because of the drought of last year, we're spending about $650,000 on increasing the capacity of the Main Street well. Going from adding about 200 million gallons of water into the system.
Mm-hmm.
And that's already in the fast track, and that will be drilled within the next year.
Yeah.
We've already gone through Conscom. We're getting a turtle plan so we can start drilling the well, but the well will be in this year, and then we'll connect it to the system.
Yeah, that's gone through capital planning as well.
Right. As soon as that goes to vote by the town board in January, yep. It's all going to be done without loans, and it'll be done with the free cash.
So I wonder what the best way is to maybe reference that work in the application to sort of show the town's commitment to addressing these issues while also showing that there's a need for additional funds for the state to look specific at future climate impacts. And I'm also wondering, is there any way at all to show a piece of that work that you're doing, possibly as part of the town's match?
Yes.
Frank, I don't. Yeah.
Adria, because I was going to mention that after we got off of what we were just talking about. Dave put together a master plan for the water department, and I think maybe I was very impressed with the quality of work that's in there, the maps that are in there. I think a lot of that information would be very beneficial for us in this grant.
I don't know if it helps. The whole reason for going down South Row is a lot of those wells have arsenic in them.
Mm-hmm.
And they have arsenic mitigation pumps and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to get within reach of those people to get them off wells and get better water quality. So, and then the next phase is in 2028, we want to put a tank up on the top of Lunenburg Road, because a lot of the wells are failing because of climate change.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't have any water lines anywhere near there. So, but at that time, we're going to have no loans in the water department, and then we can take one on.
Right, and that's what we're trying to show, Dave, is the financial need that we're going to be having. You know, we may not have it right now, but I know that in the future, for us to be able to stabilize and to mitigate some of these issues that you're talking about,
Yep.
we're going to have a solid plan going forward. And I think the financial need needs to be right out front, so that, you know, the state knows that we're going to be, you know, this is what we're planning on. These are some of the issues that we're running into, and want to be able to mitigate those from the jump start.
So within part of the well field project is, where I talked to Conscom about it, is right now our footprint's about 5 acres for the well field. It's going to go down to about 400 square feet.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to be replanting trees on the old well field. And the town has asked me to plant chestnut trees, because there's a chestnut planting program. Who knew?
Yeah, right.
We're gonna try to work with the high school to get the kids to plant the trees. We'll pay for everything, but it'll be a project with the high school.
That's
So Beth, do you have the master water plan?
Yep.
Do you have a copy of that? Dave, do you have a problem with us submitting it to Weston and Sampson?
That's
Okay.
I wanted to ask Dave, because you mentioned this phase coming up in 2028. Can this assessment that we're proposing in the action grant help gather data to prepare you for that phase?
Oh,
Do
yes,
you see a link there?
absolutely.
Oh, great. Okay, fantastic.
Because
Let's make sure.
it's gonna right now we only service about half the town. We plan on servicing being able to service the whole town within the next 15 years.
Good.
But that's the first phase, and it's probably going to be about $8-10 million. But I want to have no loans before I get into that.
Good.
Great goal.
Dave, could you just, which one of the well field, where are you planning on putting the new well? Is it going to be in one of the existing well fields?
Well, right now, the Main Street well produces 200 gallons per minute.
Okay.
We're moving the well 500 feet straight back
Okay.
from the road, and it's going to produce about 600 gallons per minute, which gives us an additional 210 million gallons a year.
Okay, so we're not. Okay, so
And
you're gonna. I'm sorry.
And we're also in the final. Cross Street well has been off for years because of high iron and manganese, and that was also a beaver issue. We've taken care of the beavers, and that is already in the final. That's already been rehabbed, and we're hoping to have it in place within 2 weeks.
So the existing Main Street well that's going to be replaced by this new well, is the
Correct.
intent to abandon that well?
Yes.
Okay, so that's something we could work into the program here, I think, too. And rather than abandon the well, is to.
Well, it has to be abandoned.
Well, it can't be converted to an observation well.
Well, you can put observation wells, but part of what
That's-
BP wants us to do is to cut. There's observation wells all over there,
Okay.
regardless of those. But those
All
are
right.
8-foot wells, and we're going to cut cut them all down, grow them in, and then plant trees on the site. But besides those, there are a dozen observation wells all through that area.
Okay, so my point being is then whichever one we use, maybe part of the program can be regarding this impact on climate change or being responsive to it or proactive, is maybe looking at one of these wells being converted to some sort of a long-term observation point, which,
Right.
you know, and it can be incorporated into either the water department, it could even be something on the community end, whatever. We could use it as part of the outreach communication end. So if you already have enough, that's fine. We just have to select which one, and we could work that in and look for
But
funding.
all those observation wells are going to stay in place.
Okay, so okay, that's where I'm going with it. That's fine. Well, if you're going to share the master plan, maybe their locations are shown in there. I don't know. Okay, great.
Well, we know EEA likes to see examples of creative community engagement, and I think it would be great to find other opportunities to work with the schools or other folks in the community, especially since you're already doing some of that. And that brings me to another point I want to check in on, which
I can help you with that one too. We have a summer intern program this year, and that we're going to take the high school students, and they're going to, when they do any testing, they're going to go with us. But they're also going to help paint hydrants and stuff like that. But any testing, any digging we do, we're going to pull them off the painting the hydrants and put them on that, just to give them an education. So we got about 60 hours a week, and so if somebody wants to work two or 3 days and go to the beach the other 2 days, fine. I'd rather not have somebody work 40 hours. I don't want to ruin their summer. It's not the point. The point is an intern program, to get them in, to show them what we do, to give them a little money. It's going to be $15 an hour, which is pretty good. And they'll sit with the guys. They'll help do all the testing in the wells and all the observations. And we're also doing a complete GIS system of the entire town that's already started. And it'll all be mapped, and they can help with the mapping if we have someone with the right skills. So that would help with that.
That's really fantastic.
Yeah.
That's great to hear. And maybe these are other things we can mention in the yearly progress report to say here are great examples of things coming up.
That's all been fun. That's all in the budget this year.
Great. So how much, maybe we can do a time check, because I don't want to use up your full meeting on MVP. Do I have a little more time to touch on a few other points? How are we doing?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So I wanted to check in on two other items at least. One is letters of support. The other is reaching the community. So EEA is going to want to see examples of how our project will reach climate vulnerable populations and benefit climate vulnerable populations. And one method that they're really recommending this year, and it's mentioned in their scoring rubric, is a community liaison approach, where you hire someone as a project partner who has demonstrated experience in connecting with climate vulnerable populations. And that can be anyone in the community who might have faced additional stressors in their life, who might have challenges to building personal resilience. So that could include youth, seniors, residents with disabilities, residents who are low income, folks who have limited English proficiency. There's sort of a long list of folks that it could include. And EEA has also provided a toolkit this year to help towns match up with potential community liaisons. So I did take a look at that toolkit. Only one possibility popped up. It is the Montechusett Home Care Corporation. They're actually located in Leominster, but they serve a number of different towns, including Townsend. So this is in-home care for elderly and disabled residents. And I just thought I would mention this because it resulted from EEA's toolkit. And I wanted to ask, does anyone know if the town has worked with this organization before, partnered with this organization before?
Yes. Yes.
Great.
Sorry, Lance, I'll interrupt, because we've had some firsthand experiences with them. And Karen Canfield at the senior center, Karen Canfield Moore at the senior center. She is the liaison, and she has had, we've had some situations lately where they have direct contact with people that they happen to do Meals on Wheels for those that are homebound. She would be a great source to get information to put in what we do in this town with Montechusett. Mm-hmm. Does that help?
That's a huge help. Let's link up with her, Beth, maybe right after this. And is there interest, do you think, in possibly partnering with Montechusett Home Care as a partner for the application? It sounds like there's a great connection there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do. I do think that would be very helpful for both Montechusett and for Townsend. I think that would be a good thing.
That's wonderful. I'm so thrilled to hear this. This is great news. And the other piece of this is EEA will also be gauging the support from climate vulnerable populations in your community for this project. And one way that they do that is through letters of support. They look at this section of the application very closely. So we have put together a new template for a letter of support from organizations that might represent climate vulnerable populations. We don't want this to be a burden, so folks can take the template and adjust it as they need. We would love to get letters of support from places like the Senior Center, the Council on Aging, Public Library, possibly if there's a high school group related to sustainability, something like that, maybe even the Housing Authority, the Townsend Ashby Youth Soccer Association. They participated in the planning process quite a bit, so it would be great to show their support, and perhaps there could be a cool tabling event at a game as part of our community engagement. So I wanted to sort of throw that out there, and if there are other groups that come to mind who might be able to provide a letter of support, that would be helpful.
Okay, well, I can put it in front of the Housing Authority, and I think the person that needs to hear that is already on the meeting agenda here.
Yes. So what about, did you mention, do you want local business support as well?
Oh, that would be fantastic. We didn't actually have that on our list, but I think that would be very helpful.
I think that would be engaging. Mm-hmm. We don't do a lot, as the town itself does not do a lot with businesses. So to include them in future projects for the town might be beneficial, again, to both the town and the businesses.
Excellent idea.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
We already have letters of support from the Conservation Commission, Zoning Board of Appeals, and the Board of Health, and the Board of Selectmen probably. I have to double check on that, but I think they took that up at their last meeting.
I think the Council on Aging would be a wonderful letter of support. I think the Housing Authority would be equally as good. Mm-hmm. I can do some investigating, Adria, for a couple of other nonprofits that we do work with in regards to affordable housing. They assist with fuel assistance and that kind of stuff. There's one that we just partnered with to help us with our COVID relief funds for mortgage and rental assistance. They are also very much involved in the population that you're talking about. So I'll have a conversation with them as well.
That would be huge. Thank you. Okay. That's great. I think the only other item that I wanted to make sure I touched on is just because I know the town has been involved in a lot of other grant writing processes. So if there are any lessons learned or recommendations that you might have for us that might be related to process, might be related to tools. I know one group, the Shared Streets group, was working on Google Drive. So was that, the best way to do it? Did you find it really useful? Are there other lessons learned that folks would like to share with us?
Mm-hmm. Well, Mr. Chair, as long as she asked the question, I'm going to go on my soapbox here and say that one of my major goals since I started volunteering for this town is to get the boards to collaborate, to get the departments collaborating. We have made some giant leaps and bounds over the past 6 months, which I am very excited about. Beth is shaking her head because she knows that I've been banging my head against the wall about all of this. I think I'm very happy to have Dave on this call to talk about his piece of it. I think that we need to open up all of the conversation with all of the boards in anything that we're in, any effort that we're doing. And I also feel that, the information that we're doing never really formally gets to the Board of Selectmen. So I think, part of my goal in the next few months is to make sure that the Board of Selectmen is aware of all of the different functions that each one of these departments and committees and boards are doing, so that it can be properly managed, I guess is the word I'm looking for. But as far as the Google Drive, I agree with that. My big thing is the town is now on SharePoint. I think that is the way to go as far as the sharing of information. And I also feel that anytime that we are going to be discussing particular issues, like if it has to do with climate change in water, we need to invite the water department. If we're talking about climate change and our utility usage, we need to pull in the energy committee. If it's increasing housing because of the lack of housing in Townsend, we need to pull in the housing department. So I think that's the direction that in this, because that's going to show the state that with a collaboration we can do a lot more than just these small pieces that we're doing.
I think that will really resonate with them because they recognize that tackling issues like climate change really requires an all hands on deck approach and really requires an interdisciplinary approach. So I think it's a great point and would be well received by EEA as well.
Okay.
With that, can we possibly set up another meeting in the next week or something, and I can invite Board of Health, all the boards that you just mentioned to work on this? Or?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, so I have some availability from TCAM for next week. I know, Lance, you're going to be out of town till Wednesday, but maybe next Thursday. I don't know if that would work. The 22nd, which was actually Earth Day. Just so we could continue the conversation. I don't
April
know.
The 22nd is on a Thursday. Okay.
Yeah. Thursday.
I'm okay. I'm open on there.
Okay.
Evening meeting.
If there's a good meeting time for everybody, yeah, it would be basically a grant workshop, MVP Action Grant Workshop.
My only conflict is I have to take Hank into the vet at 10:30.
Okay. So
I would prefer later in the day.
okay, 4:00, something like that, Lori. 5:00.
Earlier is better than later.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman.
I mean, if we can make like 3 o'clock or 2 o'clock or something.
yeah, 2:00 is. I mean, if folks could do 2:00 on Thursday, I just realized
I
that.
think a lot of it, Beth, might be, the other boards and their availability before 6 o'clock, if you know what I mean.
Exactly. So
Right.
that was great.
It may need to be in the evening, as much as I don't like losing my evenings, just to be good participation.
Okay, so Thursday evening, TCAM is not available. Sorry, it's booked 5 to 8. So between 1 and 5 on Thursday would be open for TCAM.
I'm good for 4 o'clock.
I can do 4:00.
That might be cutting it close if he's booked starting at 5.
Yeah, can we do 3?
I might just say I'm not free at 3, but the other times in the afternoon I am available. If you would like me to join.
Yes, 4:00 you said is work for you, Adria?
Yeah, the only hour in the afternoon I'm not available on that day is 3 to 4, but otherwise open.
All right, let's stick with the 4:00.
So if we have a tight agenda and just do it from 4 to 5.
Sure, yeah. Okay,
Beth, see what kind of a response you get from the other departments.
Okay.
If they're not available, if you can't get, say, 3 or 4 of them,
Mm-hmm.
out of, I don't know how many, but it doesn't seem.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe we can put an RSVP by a certain date so that we'll have a better idea.
Okay.
Good
I
idea.
can try that scheduling app that. I can't. Yeah. So I'll see what I can do. Well, thank you.
Okay.
And with that, just before we close, can the board vote on a letter of support for the MVP Action Grant? Because I'm trying to process those now, if possible. And I did draft one, and I put it in the share drive. It's under correspondence.
Make a motion that we pass the letter of support that Beth had written for the MVP grant.
Is there a second?
Second.
Carol, how do you vote?
Yes.
Chaz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
And Lance is yes.
Could I ask for an additional vote to authorize the chair to sign the letter? On
So
behalf of the
moved.
board? Thank you.
Second.
Okay. How do you vote, Carol?
Yes.
Chaz?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
And Lance, yes.
Awesome.
Okay. So Adria, did you get everything that you needed to get done?
I did. This is fantastic. We'll take everything we heard today and work it into the process. Frank, did you have any other questions you needed to ask?
No, I'm for now. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful day.
Sure. All right, and thank you so much for attending.
I will. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'll do some polling and see what I can come up with.
Okay, so let's real quickly, has everyone had a chance to review the minutes? And if so, are there any questions?
No.
If not, then can I have a motion to approve the minutes of April the 5th, 2021?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of April 5th, 2021.
I'll second.
Do I have a second for approving the minutes?
I'll second.
How do you vote, Carol?
Yes.
Chaz?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
Lance, yes. Okay, 2.1, I don't believe we have a master plan update. Did you receive anything from, I know I spoke to Kim and she was either going to attend or send a letter.
She was going to try to jump on the call at 9:30, but I don't see her.
Okay.
So.
All right, well, we'll just skip over that unless she shows up.
Okay.
Beth distributed our board decision on 12 Dudley Road. We need to officially approve it at the board. So is there any questions on the decision? If not, can we have a motion to accept?
I have a couple of questions, but we could do it under discussion after the motion, if okay. So I move that we approve the planning board decision for 12 Dudley Road Senior Center expansion.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
How do you vote, Carol?
Yes.
Chaz?
Are you having discussion?
Yeah,
Oh, you want to
Oh,
have
yeah.
a discussion? I'm sorry, Chaz.
that's all right. 2 questions, Beth. What is where it says DAT under number 3 parcels background? What does that mean?
Do you want me to screen share so we can all take a look?
Sure.
Okay. Hartley, would you be able to give me that capability? Yes, please. Thank you.
Boy, look at you, Beth.
I know, huh? Driving. Don't speak too soon, though, right?
Yeah, I was just going to say, by the time we don't need this anymore, we'll all be proficient in this.
Not me.
You will, Laura. I know you will. All right. We're getting there. Okay. How's that
Okay.
one?
Yep.
Okay, great. What page?
And then, well, it starts out there. If you go to the third page, number 3.
Okay, parcels background.
Okay, now I see what it is. All right, the only thing that came up in my printed was DAT, but it says draft on it on the original, so I just didn't understand what that meant.
Oh, okay.
So it's just the way my thing printed, and then on another page it came up RF, and it's just draft. You see what I'm saying? So I'm good.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm good with it.
Excellent.
Okay. So if you're good, we have a motion that's been seconded. Carol, how do you vote?
Yes.
Charles?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
And Lance? Yes. And Laura, you're doing a really good job getting on and off that mute.
That I'm proficient at.
All right, age-restricted development zoning bylaw amendment report to town meeting.
Yeah, so you can take this time and I'll screen share it, but Chaz has submitted to the board a wonderful report. It's in your folders, but I can look at it now. I think if you accept the whole report, that would be sufficient in terms of the report to town meeting. That would be my guess, but.
You're talking about the handout that I did?
Right, the handout, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I thought it was great.
Yeah, I thought it was great as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good job, Chaz. Thank you.
Yep. You're welcome.
So can we have a motion to support from the planning board?
So moved.
Okay. Carol, how do you vote?
Yes.
Chaz?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
And Lance is yes.
Okay.
And I assume somebody seconded that in there.
I seconded it.
Oh, okay. I thought so.
May I ask Beth if you could forward that entire report over to Mr. Kreidler as we talked about in the meeting on Tuesday? I'd appreciate it.
Absolutely. And what further distribution would you like me to pursue with that? It's on the website, but is there further outreach you would like me to do ahead of town meeting or for town meeting?
I would like to get it out in Lance. This is my opinion. This, of course, all goes through you. I feel that if we get it out substantially to the public, we won't have to read over each thing in the town meeting. It'll allow people to have the ability to read it before town meeting. I'd also like to be able to get printed copies that are available for people who are going to town meeting so that they have that information in front of them as well.
Okay.
How many copies? How many copies would you like printed?
Well, and that would depend on where they're going to have the meeting. They're talking about having it at Great Hall. Capacity at Great Hall, from what I'm hearing, inside is 87, and then outside would be the remainder. So I'm going to guess 100. Lance, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that would be good.
Thank you.
So Beth, how would you logistically get 100 copies?
Well, we have the ability to do that right here. That's not a
Okay.
problem. Yeah.
All right.
No, that is no problem. The other thing was in terms of having it on the website, would you also want it on, I don't know if TCAM can put it on Channel 9. I don't know if would that be something you want? Okay.
If we can do that, I am not really familiar with that process, but I think the more we utilize Channel 9, the more we're going to be able to get information out to the public.
Yeah.
How would you do?
Good idea.
Yeah, how would we do that? Would we do point them to the website or
Well, Hartley, would you be able to chime in here, or maybe not?
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I know that I've been communicating with Steve Sheldon. He'd probably be able to answer the question or pass it to somebody who can.
I mean, Chaz, my thoughts would be one, that we could just have something that is a black with white lettering that would direct them to the website.
Yep.
Or we could do something where you actually are recorded reading it and having that 30 or 40, however long it takes you to read it, 1 minute clip being played over and over again on Channel 9, once every hour.
I love that idea.
I know, right?
I think that's a great idea.
Really, it is.
And Channel 9 is supposed to be for town information, like what is going on, and certainly all the information that could be put out before the annual meeting. There's a lot of people, I don't turn my TV on, but there's a lot of people that do watch Channel 9. That's their only, and they may not even have computers. That's their only connect to hearing anything about what's going on in town, especially now. So that's an awesome idea.
It really is.
I do have the capacity to do that. My question would be, Hartley, would MP4 be a format that you guys can use for the TV?
No, I mean, Hartley, I think the question is, no, but can you play back an MP4? I mean, logistically, is an MP4?
That's what I'm thinking. No, that's okay. So what probably, yeah. Well, if I did it, Lance, in an MP4 format, this is how they're recorded through the Zoom. So I'm sure that at some point somebody would need to process it into whatever format they use to put it on Channel 9. So what I can do.
My guess is that an MP4 format's not an issue at all, because you can just literally play it on the Windows Media Player and, have that recorded in Zoom.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I definitely can put something together if you guys want me to.
That would be great.
I do too. I really like that.
So basically just read the handout that I read.
Yes, with your smiling face.
Yeah.
Okay. I can do.
Thank you. Wonderful idea.
I think what we want is we just want it as an advertisement that's played maybe once an hour on Channel 9.
Yeah.
That's a huge benefit to anybody with a disability who could listen to it. If it's closed captioned, that would be nice too. But it's a great, definitely a great outreach tool.
Okay. All right. All right. Moving on. All right. So I'm a little slow today. Did we take a vote, Beth, on the age-restricted bylaw amendment?
Yeah, that's been voted on already.
Okay.
And that's been, that is in the warrant and it's all set. No changes needed.
Okay. And then on the scenic roads bylaw warrant article? 2.4?
2.4. Yep. Chaz, you want to tell that story?
I had gone in front of the Board of Selectmen on Tuesday because of our snafu on Monday's posting issues. I had asked them that we had formally approved it, but then we made some changes. We heard from town council. We decided to change it back. So we wanted to be able to have the time to vote on it today, but we submitted we changed it back to where we wanted to in regards to the enforcement piece of it. And we just need to vote on it today to formalize it. And then Beth and I have already submitted that pending today's agreement in today's meeting.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but we put it back where we have the planning board, building commissioner, and tree warden.
Correct.
Yeah. And I did speak to the tree warden, and the current process in town is if Unitil believes that they have to remove a tree or cut a tree because it represents a public safety issue that's in the town's way, that they automatically contact the tree warden, and then he goes and looks at the tree and, unilaterally decides whether or not that it warrants, in his opinion, removal.
Correct. Instead of going through a formal process of coming to the planning board.
And we don't want to, we would be actually run out of town if Townsend has power failures that we're waiting so that we can post something for 14 days before they can take a tree down.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so can I have a motion to adopt the scenic roads bylaw warrant?
I'll make the motion. I'd like to just make a comment after the second.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, Laura, your comment.
Okay, because oddly enough, did anybody else get the tickets from a tree company that cuts down stuff, and it was for Unitil?
No.
I just got one last week, and I called, and they don't know when they're doing it, but apparently this is townwide, and they're going through and taking down any branches that are near wires. I just told them to have at it.
Okay.
Right, and that's we dealt with that last year with one, but there was one tree that they wanted to remove, and we said no, and they said okay. We have one tree on our property that there's a bald eagle on the top of it, and I don't want it to be cut down because but it's really it's something that they surveyed. They say these trees or these branches need to be cut, and they'll put a tag on your door or however they did it. Yeah. And it's up to the property owner's discretion on whether or not they wanted to have it done or not.
Made it clear is that Unitil goes to him for anything that's in the town's right of way, and anything that is outside the town's right of way, they have to get homeowner approval before doing anything.
Yep.
Okay.
I wonder whose liability it is if the owner says no. And something happens. They have a record of, contacting people, and they were not cooperative. So it's not their fault.
Well, I don't know the answer to your question other than that if that branch does fall and takes the power lines out, then now that branch is in the public way.
Yeah, okay.
All right. All right. So, Carol, how do you vote?
Yes.
Chaz?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
And Lance is yes. All right. Chapter 43D. Chaz? Or is that Beth?
Well, it could be the both of us. There's the handout. I also did a report for the 43D that will be explained as we talked about before. The question would be the ability for us to. We have identified certain sites. My question would be is if we have been given some information and we wanted to add a site to that, how does that work, Beth?
Okay, I can ask that question from MRPC.
Okay.
At the site, excellent. I will find that and follow up with it.
And it would be a site that was suggested a while ago when we were first going through the initial phases of this.
Okay.
And I can't remember if they did it or not. You know that big spreadsheet initially that they put out?
Yep.
It may or may not be on that, but if it is on that, my assumption is they'd be able to, they've already gathered somewhat preliminary information on it.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So it's not like they're going to be doing any extra work for it.
Right. So they on the part you're talking about the matrix that they made, right?
Correct.
And they went through the application and they looked at each property and
Correct.
sort of did a. So the only other additional work would be is creating maps, because they create a couple of maps for them, and I don't anticipate that would be. I will look into that though and find out what the additional cost would be, or who, perhaps none. Perhaps we have somebody who could do that here in the town.
Well, that's what was already done. Which one is it? Did we discuss it?
Yes, we did. I brought it out. I wanted, initially when we were asked what properties, I said the deluxe property that's on South Street.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
And I think, there was some, some of the issue there was it's state-owned land or something. There's
Deluxe is on? That Deluxe is on?
It's abutting state-owned land, but I don't think that would be a problem. So I think that would be something to look at. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, all right. Can follow up with that.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we need, all right, so can I have a motion to accept the 43D warrant article and report?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Carol, how do you vote?
Yes.
Chaz?
Yes.
Lori?
And to discussion on that, can we have Chaz do the same thing? On that one, do a clip of explanation prior to annual?
He's done it.
Oh, that would be excellent.
Yeah, in the handout, I'll touch upon all of the bylaws that we're looking at and the warrant articles.
You're going to put them all in one clip?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay, Lori, how do you vote?
Yes.
And Lance votes yes. All right, Chaz, safe routes to schools.
I am happy to report that with our discussion, Selectman Kell, myself, representative from Safe Routes to School, and the principals and vice principals have agreed to sign on to Safe Routes to School. They wanted to wait for us to do it in the fall, to start any work with the school in the fall, because they're very busy right now with, all that's going on about getting kids back in and all of that. What was suggested is that if they sign on now, that'll allow them, that'll give them more time with the program, because there are certain things available when you have a little longevity. So that if they sign on in the fall, they wouldn't be privy to fall activities. They wouldn't be able to do anything with the program until the spring. So they agreed that send the application, and we have sent the application in. And as of today, I've not heard anything from our representative, but the schools are signing on to this, and I think it's a really good thing. I'm very happy to hear this.
That is very good news.
Yeah, that's great. Chaz, can you send me a copy of the application?
Yep,
please?
sure. Yep.
Okay. I think we've already covered the MVP. And so that brings us to 3.0, notices from Townsend and other towns.
The only thing I have, Mr. Chair, is there is a Town of Lunenburg public hearing. The Lunenburg Planning Board is holding a public hearing on April 26th, 2021 at 6:35 via Zoom. And it's to hear a review on an application under Chapter 325 subdivision regulations. It looks like a 6-lot subdivision consisting of 6 duplex buildings.
Okay.
And that's all I have.
All right. So Dave, what's the significance of the San Francisco Bridge there?
Good place to go.
I've actually sailed underneath that.
I rode a bike across it.
I drove across it.
Okay.
But nobody's climbed to the top, right?
Right.
With that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
May I verify that we have the next planning board meetings for May 10th and May 24th? Are those still correct?
Yes, and if board members would like to meet prior, just let me know. I'd be happy to arrange it.
Okay.
Okay, motion to adjourn?
The snowflakes have gotten a lot bigger.
They have.
Yes,
And the trees are a lot wider.
very huge right now.
They're very, very huge.
Motion to adjourn at 10:03 a.m.
Yeah,
I second.
I may cancel the boat lessons I have for tomorrow. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Have a great day.